Hi and welcome to the Bold Report. I'm Sam Ausdemore, and with me is my co-host, the recently published Malinda Frevert.
Well, I don't know if published is the right term, but we just had a story that we did on Jon Bruning back in November get picked up by a national outlet called the National Journal. I did a piece called Wrong Way Jon Bruning. It's a nickname that he earned back in his law school days when he was writing for the Daily Nebraska, and it came from some basketball game mix-up. Some of you may not know, Jon Bruning used to be a big liberal, like the biggest liberal ever. And obviously now he's the Attorney General, and he's completely in the opposite direction, one of the most conservative politicians we have in the state. And everybody wants to know why.
Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I used to work for the Attorney General's office, so I just have to ask you, Malinda, what is so wrong with changing your mind? It's very, very easy to be cocooned in law school. You know, you look at the law, you look at what it says, and you're being trained to think like a lawyer, God forbid. And like I said, it's very, very easy to be a cocoon, and then once you go out in the real world, it'll hit you in the face. That's plenty of cause for, you know, abrupt shifts in thinking.
I agree that opinions can change, and that changing from school to the real world can be a big shift, but I think it had to be something pretty big for him to swing so dramatically. I mean, it's just highly suspicious. It happened so quickly, especially right before he started running for office. I think people have reason to be suspicious and ask questions. For Jon Bruning, why did you change from being a liberal to being a conservative?
Mr. Bruning, consider this an invitation to come on the Bold Report and answer some of our questions. I'll be on your side, I promise. Senator Pete Pursh introduced a bill that would amend the Nebraska Constitution to allow the legislature to only meet biannually. Right?
Every other year.
Every 2 years. As it stands right now, the Nebraska legislature meets for 90 days in the odd-numbered years, and for 60 days in the even-numbered years, the odd years. And I thought this was really interesting, because one of the big criticism raised is that it'd be very, very difficult to pass a 2-year budget in only one shortened session. Anyway, the point being is that it's hard enough to balance a budget when major changes occur when you meet every other year. Mm-hmm. I think it would be a bad idea from that standpoint to only meet every other year, because you can't address
People don't realize, but it can be a very time-consuming job. Sure, it's a bureaucracy, and there's a lot of red tape and sometimes a lot of pomp and circumstance that you have to go through, but I mean, these people are very busy, and they have full-time staffers who will work year-round on issues when they're not there. I mean, I'm just thinking, like, what would Ernie Chambers say here? I don't think Ernie Chambers would be for this. So there are 3 bills that will affect oil pipelines in the state that our activists have worked really hard to bring to the attention of our state senators. These are all really important. We need people to be there on Wednesday at 1:30 in the Natural Resources Committee meeting room at 1525 at the state legislature. And all the testimony we can get helps, or you can submit written testimony to info@boldnebraska.org and we'll get it in for you.
But coming at the pipeline issue from an economics perspective, you also have to look at the problem of externalities. And externalities is an economic term. It's basically a cost incurred that's not reflected in the price of a product against the benefit of all the money that it brings with the maintenance, with the initial construction, with the infrastructure that's, you know, put in place just so they can create this. It's a very, very interesting thing.
Their pipeline will generate $150 million in state revenue for the lifetime of the pipeline. So not like in the first year, the first 5 years, we're talking over 20, 30, maybe even 50 years. So it's $150 million over 50 years worth the cost of destroying drinking water and agricultural water for people, you know, across the state, for destroying the economic livelihood of these ranchers who live out there.
Whatever decision is made, you know, to stop the pipeline completely, to reroute it, to go with the original route, whatever has to be made, it has to be made with that in mind. And that's the Bold Report for the week. I'm Sam Ausdemore.
And I'm Malinda Frevert.
See you next time.
See you.